So, as a recruiter and talent acquisition specialist, I spent 15 years screening thousands, tens of thousands, maybe even 100,000 resumes over my time. And so I learned a thing or two. That thing or two that I've used as a career coach now for the past 7 years to help my clients have a better than average application to interview ratio. Lessons that I am going to let you in on today. So stay tuned. Hi, my name is Sara, and I am a certified career and leadership coach and certified professional resume writer. And I help people find their dream jobs where they can work less, make more, and finally feel happy and fulfilled doing work they love. I do that through my group and one-on-one coaching, through my resume writing, and through here on my YouTube channel. So if you want my help, my free help doing that, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the little notification bell so that you don't miss a single video. So yeah, I hated screening resumes. Like your eyes bleed by the end of the day practically from going through them all. And I've done it from every which way that you've done it. I've done it through applications and me, myself, having to go through 400 resumes because we didn't have an applicant tracking system, to applicant tracking systems where you're kind of setting the parameters and allowing it to spit out the top 25, 50 that I would still screen and review. So to LinkedIn, going through the Easy Apply and Indeed through their application. I've done it all, which is why there are some key lessons that I have learned because I'm always learning lessons. That's the only way I made recruitment somewhat enjoyable for those 15 years because I did not really love it. But here are those lessons so that you can take them and apply them to your own resume so that you can boost the number of interview requests that you get. Okay, tip number one, lesson number one, is there are not enough accomplishments out there. I would generally see a lot of bullet points that were half bullet points, provided customer service. Okay, that's three words. That's a very common one. Let me tell you, super common. Instead, we need to add to it. So why were you providing customer service, or to who were you providing customer service, or to what end? What was the result of that customer service that you were providing? Or what was the purpose of that customer service? Were you dealing with issues? Were you doing issue resolution with them? Or were you getting high customer satisfaction scores? What was happening there? So you need to really, when you're looking at your bullet points, expand on them. Talk to us about what the result was or why you were doing it. That really gives the recruiter, the talent acquisition specialist, and then the hiring manager a much more defined picture of who you are and what you can do. Provides customer service and anything like that doesn't. It's just like a job description. It doesn't tell us anything. It does not separate you from the other hundreds of applicants. On average, a position gets 250 applications that other people have put. We need to distinguish you, differentiate you from the crowd, and you do that by adding more accomplishments to your task-based bullet points or having a separate accomplishment section with your improved, your achieved, all of those things. And you can quantify them or qualify them. So improved something by blank percent or just improved something. Either works. So lesson number one is there's not enough accomplishments. Lesson number two is a small pop of color really breaks up the monotony. So we don't want to overly Well, it depends. Oops. Well, it really depends on the application and your personality and the type of company you're applying to. But I know I found that anytime there was a small pop of color, like in a name or the headings or the job titles or company names, it really like perked me up. It woke me up where all of a sudden I was more engaged with the resume and application versus before, where you kind of just get into this monotonous, like, okay, and those okays are no's, no's, no's. So a small pop of color really breaks up the monotony for the recruiter. Okay, lesson number 3, it's impossible to want to interview everyone. So recruiters approach resumes not from why should I interview this person or even should I interview this person. They approach it from why should I not interview this person or I don't want to interview this person. Because if you approach it, and let me tell you from experience, if you get 250 applications, or let's even be like conservative and say 75 applications, if you approach screening every resume from, I think I might want to interview this person, or why should I interview this person? You're going to have way more than the 5 or 10 slots that you probably want to be filling from that. You generally, they really look at narrowing it down to about 10 pre-screens, depending on the role, depending on a lot of different factors, but in and around that number. So if you're approaching it from, I think I might want to interview this person, or why should I interview this person, or does this person look good for an interview, you're going to get way more than that 10. Whereas if you approach those 75 of, I don't want to interview any of them, they need to show me that I want to interview, you're definitely going to get that 10. It's so much easier to get that 10. So then it's just a 1-2 step instead of a 1-2-3 step as you're continually weeding people out. So that's why lesson number 3, it's impossible to interview everyone, really helps you with those accomplishments, with that color. Like, how can we shift this recruiter's mindset to, I definitely want to interview this person, by waking them up from the monotony, by having accomplishments so that we can differentiate you from the rest. Okay, lesson number 4. Certain resume formats simply don't get read. So when I was a baby recruiter, I would read all the formats, but I only had so many seconds, about 6, to screen each resume in terms of the time that I had. I had all of these resumes that I had to screen, which meant I eventually learned that any format that made it too difficult for me to find the key information that I needed in that 6-second review, I eventually just stopped reading them. And I was like, I felt guilty about it. So I talked to peers in my company, outside of my company. And I have since asked most recruiters that I've worked with or talked with or interacted with, do you read all resume formats? And they 95% have agreed that they don't. Now, I'm really beating around the bush here. And let me tell you what resume format does not get read. That's a functional or skills-focused resume. That is where you highlight all of the skills you have with, and not so you can emphasize all of the skills versus emphasizing your experience. Now you do this because you have been taught that if you want a career change or career pivot, or if you're relatively new to working, like you're a new grad, that this is the way to really showcase that you have the ability to do the job, even if you don't have the experience to do the job. The problem is recruiters do not read them. I didn't read them. 95% of others don't read them because it's simply too hard to find the information. Now you may say, well, but what about applicant tracking systems? Well, applicant tracking systems are really designed for the reverse chronological resume. So if your resume is not formatted in a reverse chronological way, most applicant tracking systems go a little haywire. They don't really know what to do because the things they're trying to look for aren't where they're supposed to be. So you also slip through those cracks. So the lesson there is reverse chronological really is king, and having those skills in there and figuring out other ways to get your profile seen, to get your resume seen by key decision makers. Spoiler alert, it's networking. So to recap the 4 lessons that I learned from screening 100,000 resumes, there are more, but I really wanted to be concise and focus on the top 4. Is number 1, the big number 1 is there's not enough accomplishments. Number 2, a small pop of color really breaks up the monotony for a recruiter. Number 3, it's impossible to interview everyone. So a recruiter's really reading the resume like, why do I not want to interview this person? And lesson number 4 is certain resume formats, like the functional skills summary version, simply do not get read. Okay, let me know in the comments what lessons that really hit home for you or surprised you or are going to kind of spark a need for you to change something in your own resume. Let me know in the comments. And if you have any other questions, obviously pop them down there and I'll answer them. For now, I'm going to say goodbye and I'll see you next week. Take care. See ya. If you liked this video, then I invite you to join me in the Find Your Dream Job program, where you work less, make more money, and finally feel fulfilled doing work that you love. Find out more at www.saracurto.ca/CYLA. See you there.